he told us he was going to lower prices for people. He told us that he was going to make the world a safer place, that he was going to bring peace in Ukraine. And the fact is he's done none of those things, and indeed the opposite of that. Now what he's doing is raising prices and taxes on middle-class Americans, working-class Americans, in order to give a massive tax cut to the wealthiest people in the country. So when you don't control Congress, when you don't control the White House, and people are feeling helpless and powerless, it's time for people to mobilize, and I wanted people to hear that they do have power.
Maybe you just answered my question, but there was a very powerful call to action. We've played this in your speech, mass protests, mobilization. You also say the reckoning is here. What does that mean? How should people understand that?
Well, that was specifically about what we as a Democratic Party need to be doing, that we can't be a party of do nothing, of not getting things done for, again, the people that we care the most about, the people that we're focused on. That's working families, right? The middle class, working class, the most vulnerable in our society. It's important to us to stand up in this crisis and to speak out and, again, push back. And so, hyper important for we as Democrats to recognize this is the moment where we need to convey to people what we really stand for. It didn't do a great job of it, frankly, in the last election, and that's why we didn't win as Democrats. It's time to speak out, and then, very importantly, we have to deliver for the American people. And I think, frankly, in the states, and you've seen states where there are Democratic governors, not just me, but lots of Democratic governors around the country, we've been delivering for the people of our states, but we need to do this on a national level, and the Congress isn't getting the job done. Indeed, now it's controlled by MAGA Republicans who are taking us backward.
This overall vibe of the speech or emotion of the speech, I think, was a bit wake up everybody, or that was one of my takeaways from it. And you talk in a very personal way. You kind of called out the administration in a very personal way for its authoritarian power grabs under the guise of combating anti-Semitism. And you said, stop tearing down the Constitution in the name of my ancestors. I mean, clearly you feel it in your bones. A lot of people watching feel it in their bones. It feels like you were basically saying, my ancestors have lived this movie before. Wake up, everyone. I mean, do you feel like people, even within the Democratic Party or people in Congress, don't understand, or they're not tracking where this is all headed?
I think that's right. And I have to say, you're right. It does come from a place deep inside. Remember, my family emigrated to this country from Ukraine when the Russians were killing Jews during the pogroms. This country accepted us as refugees, and we had nothing, right, except the kind of the shirts on our backs and frankly, the motivation of not just the escape and from danger and the safety of the country, but also the opportunity that was here. And, that is, by the way, what most immigrants who come here feel is a real dedication to what America offers. And so what I feel, anyway, is that the dangers that my family experienced in Ukraine, the dangers that we saw in Nazi Germany, especially in the earliest days of Nazi Germany, are the dangers that we need to react to now. If we don't, things will get much, much worse. I talked about habeas corpus, and I know that sounds like a concept no one wants to really hear about in the public, but what does it really mean? It means the government doesn't have a right to snatch you off the street and put you in prison without you having your day in court. And that is what Donald Trump not only has done to legal residents of the United States, including U.S. citizens, and you talked about 2-year-olds, 4-year-olds, a 4-year-old with stage 4 cancer, indeed, who's a U.S. citizen, right, without any ability to fight back, right? They're taking people off the streets and sending them away. These rights, he then goes on to say, in private, someone caught it on camera and on video, on audio, that these rights, he's willing to take these away from U.S. citizens now on a regular basis. So this isn't just speculative. This is something, yes, I feel it in my bones because I've seen this happen before. And so we've got to raise alarm bells to everybody. It's a 5-alarm fire, everyone. It's time to step out of your comfort zone and step out into the streets and speak up and make your voices heard, because that's the only thing that we have. That's the power that we have. And we can stop them in their tracks because, you know what? Republicans in Congress don't want to lose re-election. And if they see that you're willing to stand up and speak out, and by the way, Republicans, farmers, and veterans all across even the state of Illinois, we're considered a blue state, but lots of red counties are speaking up, and they're deeply, deeply concerned. We're seeing it across the country. That's why you see tens of thousands of people showing up at these rallies. So I'm glad to see it, but yes, I had to raise the alarm.
You just mentioned this. I mean, you spoke about immigration repeatedly in this speech. I don't think this wouldn't have been a speech most people would have given a year ago. There was a lot about immigration. Obviously, it's quite, people's rights are quite under threat right now, as you mentioned. You said, as you kind of mentioned very clearly, that the idea that the government doesn't have the right to kidnap you without due process is arguably the most effective campaign slogan in history. I mean, it is. It's very clear. Everybody understands that. And this morning, I mean, the morning after your speech, Trump's borders are basically defended deporting children who are U.S. citizens. It's still at the same time, there seems to be still a divide within the Democratic Party about talking about immigration. I mean, some have said it's a trap, that it's not one that should be debated. I mean, clearly you think they're wrong, but why are they wrong? And I agree with you, by the way, on that.
They're wrong because, well, I have to say the people who want to avoid the topic are wrong. Here's what we stand for, right? What we stand for is a secure border and comprehensive immigration reform that says that the people that we want in this country are the hardworking, tax-paying, law-abiding people, some of whom are already here. They're undocumented, some of them. And we've got to make sure they have a path to citizenship, because once you have a secure border and you're actually allowing immigration on this basis, these are the very people that you want to have come into your country. So let's give them a path to staying in the country legally, the ones that are already here. That's the argument that we Democrats want to make. Secure border, comprehensive immigration reform, and let's keep the hardworking people that are frankly making our economy run. And let me be clear about what I mean when I say that. It's not just that they're doing the jobs that people say other Americans won't do. But, 46% of the Fortune 500 companies in this country, the biggest corporations, 46% of them were founded by immigrants or the children, the first generation children of immigrants. This is the lifeblood of our economy. Again, we need immigration. We're the only country in the world that is truly made up almost entirely of immigrants, because we have a pact with one another about what American values are, not because we have a certain color of skin or a certain religion, but because we agree with one another that the fundamentals of our Constitution are what we're all buying into. That is what Democrats believe. The Republicans, and Donald Trump especially, are demonstrating that is not what they believe in, and we've got to stand up and fight back for the fundamental principles of this nation.
I'd also add that the massive overreach and the immoral and illegal actions people don't like, we've consistently seen that in the polls in these individual cases. There's so much more to ask you about. We haven't even dug into the Democratic Party and where it needs to go. You had a lot of things to say about that. We're going to sneak in a very quick break. Governor Pritzker is going to stick around, and we'll be right back.
Where does the time go? Where does the time go?
Until this week, my dad did not know where he was from. I'm African American. I want to know where I come from. It means the world to share ancestry with my dad. So in Nigeria, that's where it all started. So they've broken it down by regions, by journeys, and by parent.
Man, this is deep. And it adds more complexity to our lives, too. It adds more color.
My pops is my fuel, my family, and my community. This is my way of saying thank you to him.
I'm into comedy. I'm also into flambanging. What I'm not into is heartburn. That's why I take Voquezna.
Here in Keenan's stomach, Voquezna can kick some acid and relieve heartburn related to non-erosive GERD.
Voquezna is the first and only FDA-approved treatment of its kind.
And it heals erosive esophagitis, known as erosive GERD.
Ooh la la.
93% of adults with erosive GERD were healed by 2 months. Of those healed, 79% stayed healed. Plus, Voquezna can provide heartburn-free days and nights. Other serious stomach conditions may exist. Don't take if allergic to Voquezna or while on rilpivirine. Serious allergic reactions include trouble breathing, rash, itching, and swelling of face, lips, tongue, or throat. Serious side effects may include kidney problems, intestinal infection, fractures, life-threatening skin reactions, low B12 or magnesium levels, and stomach growths. Tell your doctor about your medical conditions, medications, and if you have diarrhea, persistent stomach pain or fever, decreased or bloody urine, seizures, dizziness, irregular heartbeat, jitteriness, chills, shortness of breath, muscle aches or weakness, spasms of hands, feet, or voice.
Voquezna can help kick some acid, and so can you.
Ask your doctor about Voquezna.
Here's to getting better with age.
Here's to beating these two every Thursday.
Help fuel today with Boost High Protein. Complete nutrition you need and the flavor you love. So here's to now. Now available Boost Max.
I was tired of being told no to my dreams. But Shopify made it easy.
You said in part, quote, "What I find ironic about the current conversation surrounding our party is that the voices flocking to podcasts and cable news shows to admonish fellow Democrats for not caring enough about the struggles of working families are the same ones who, when it comes to relieving the struggles of real people, have been timid, not bold." This strikes me as, but you tell me, of course, that you're saying it's not just a messaging issue. There are messaging issues. It's a bold policy issue. It's a boldness issue. And by the way, I think these are constructive debates to have because you need to have them to figure out the path moving forward. But it's more than messaging, right? It's policy and other things, or what do you mean by that?
It is. Let me give you an example. Our current federal minimum wage is $7.25. That's $14,000 a year if you work a full-time job. Now, the $7.25 minimum wage came from the 2000 aughts, right? I mean, almost 15, 17 years ago. We haven't raised the minimum wage since then. We Democrats, we believe that people ought to be able to earn a decent living, right? A living wage. And $7.25 is not a decent wage. Almost every Democrat that you'll talk to agrees on that. Why have we not fought to raise the minimum wage? I mean, why have we not made it a central focus of campaigns for Democrats? And what do Republicans believe, by the way? If you want to know the contrast here, Republicans, if you ask them, almost all of them think that we shouldn't raise the minimum wage, and some large portion of them think we shouldn't have a minimum wage at all. Now, think about that. So why haven't we Democrats made that a central focus? Because we're talking about a whole lot of people in the country who make minimum wage. Now, I'm giving that as an example of we Democrats want to fight for working class people, and yet we haven't been able to get that done. Even when we had majorities in the Congress and we had the presidency, we didn't get it done. Why not? Because we need to be bold, and we're not being bold enough. And by the way, we believe in universal health care. I think every Democrat believes everybody ought to have a doctor, everybody ought to have health care. And most Republicans don't think that everybody deserves to have health care. They think it is a privilege, not a right. And so that's a huge contrast. Why have we not fought to get that? And Barack Obama got a lot done, but we haven't nearly covered everybody, and we haven't done a good enough job of even covering the people that have the Affordable Care Act. So these are things that I think we need to stand up and speak out about. PBMs, pharmaceutical companies, we have not been bold enough to take them on. And yet we Democrats know that the bulk of us believe that we must do that. Hasn't been done. So there's a contrast between people who want to get these things done, some of us getting it done at the state level, and people who are, I don't know, sitting around and saying, well, I couldn't get it done. I couldn't get a majority to get it done. No, fight, fight, fight for these things. Don't leave the chamber until people listen to you about it. So that's what I'm concerned about is we have not been bold enough. We've been too timid. And I said that in my speech in New Hampshire last night.
You can always fight for these things. There are contrasts. Now, before I let you go, I mean, I got to ask you, I've been around this a long time. I've done 3 presidential campaigns. You're not going to tell me right now what you're thinking about. You're going to say that you are thinking about and focused on the people of Illinois, as you should be. But I do want to ask you, have you thought about, you gave a barn burner speech in New Hampshire. Have you set yourself a timeline for when you might make a decision about your future plans?
Listen, I appreciate, I'm flattered by the question, and I can tell you this. It is about winning in 2026 for Democrats all across the country, because we've got to take the Congress back. If we're going to stop Donald Trump in his tracks, right, we've got to be out in the streets now and making our voices heard in order to win in 2026. If we don't win in 2026, I'm fearful that they're going to take away so many voting rights from so many people that won't vote for Donald Trump that indeed will be completely iced out in 2028 and have no chance at all. So I'm about fighting for the people of Illinois by making sure that at the federal level, we stop them from taking away health care, from taking away jobs, from tanking the economy, from raising tariffs and making middle class and working class people suffer.
My mother says, bite the elephant one bite at a time, which is quite applicable here, weirdly. Governor J.B. Pritzker, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. We'll be right back.
My eyes?
Thank you to all of the brilliant people who have helped us put this show together each Monday. I know you see me, but there are so many amazing people behind this show. And starting on Tuesday, May 6th, we're moving to 9 p.m. Eastern, 4 nights a week, Tuesday through Friday. So mark your calendars for May 6th, I hope. We have lots of exciting things planned, and we really hope you'll join us for the first episode of The Briefing. That does it for me tonight. The Rachel Maddow Show starts right now. Hey, Rachel.
Jen, how are you feeling about the whole thing? I, myself, am very, very, very excited. How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling great. You're day 98, so thank you for your service to all of us. And one of the things I just wanted to thank you for, and we will continue, there's only one Rachel Maddow, it's you, but you have shined a light on all of the activism and grassroots movements and people out there who are having their voice heard. We're going to keep doing that in lots of ways. People like Governor Pritzker, people that you've never heard of, protests, all sorts of things, and you've been such an inspiration, so thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I mean, we've been covering it just because I'm super interested in it, but it has been one of the most interesting and sort of salient dynamics of these first 100 days is the crescendo of that movement as it started small and then grew in this steady and sustainable way, spreading all over the country, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think it's one of the most important things going on in the country. You're seeing it now reflected in so much that's happening in Washington-centric politics. And yeah, I can't wait to see what you do with 9 p.m., Jen. I am looking forward to it with bated breath.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, my friend. And thanks to you at home for joining us this hour. Really happy to have you.
Fisher Investments, we may look like other money managers, but we're different.
You can't be that different.
We are. We have a team of specialists not only in investing, but also in financial and estate planning and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, and as a fiduciary, we always put their interests first.
But you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, we have a simple management fee.
Your story is his failure and the American public rejecting him wholesale.
Yeah, and according to the polls, they really see it. They're not confused about what he has failed at.
Yeah, the American public don't think it's all gang members who are being snatched off the street. The American public don't think tariffs are good for our economy. Like the stuff that they're saying, nobody's buying it. And it's not just disapproving of Trump and disapproving of Elon Musk. It's every single issue you ask about, everything from crime and immigration to economic policy to foreign policy to education policy to literally every single thing you poll on, even the stuff he thought would be popular, like going after international students and all the other crazy deportation stuff he's doing. People hate all of it. People love due process more than they like anything else that he is doing by a margin of like 40, 50, 60, 70%.
Yeah, they were paying attention in high school, it turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thank you. Well, imagine a 78-year-old man who often speaks incoherently and lies to you in ways that leave you wondering whether he is a pathological liar or delusional or both, pocket dials someone he doesn't want to talk to at 1:28 a.m. And then imagine that same 78-year-old man is angrily braying at the world at 5:24 a.m., claiming people have committed crimes that do not exist, and coming up with a name for those people committing the crimes that don't exist, using words that have never been joined together and make absolutely no sense, calling them, quote, negative criminals. Of course you would be concerned about the mental health of such a person. Of course you would assume some kind of serious neurological decline in the 78-year-old man. Imagine that same 78-year-old man also said, I run the country and the world. And now, imagine if Joe Biden had done just one of those things. There would have been 4-inch headlines about cognitive decline. But that's just one news cycle with Donald Trump, who did every one of those things. He butt-dialed a reporter for The Atlantic at 1:28 a.m. who he did not want to talk to, but with whom he did eventually do an interview in which he said, I run the country and the world. No one runs the country. No one ever has. No one ever will. This country was founded on that very principle. This country was founded by people escaping the rule of one person, escaping the rule of a king. And so, no, the president does not run the country. The president, at best, if he knows what he's doing, runs a section and only a section of the federal government, the executive branch. The President of the United States has absolutely nothing to do with thousands upon thousands of state laws that exist in this country and city laws and all of the different state tax rates that exist in this country. People have tried to run the world, people like Adolf Hitler, but no one ever has. And so, no, Donald Trump does not run the country and the world. And it sounds fully delusional when he says it in an interview with The Atlantic, which now carries that line as the title of the piece. I run the country and the world. Some Republicans have tried to justify that delusional declaration by invoking the concept of the President of the United States as the leader of the free world. That is a cliche that I have never personally indulged in, but it really is just a cliche, and it's never actually been true. And no previous president, all of whom since Franklin Delano Roosevelt, have at some point been referred to in the media as the leader of the free world, has never claimed that title for himself. No president has ever done that, because every previous president who actually tried to lead other countries in one direction or another always knew that the easiest way to destroy a president's ability to lead other countries in this world, to cooperate with us, would be a publicly expressed sense of American presidential superiority over all of those countries and over all of those leaders of those countries who the American president might be trying to persuade. And so Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who brilliantly managed the Allied countries who won World War II, and Joe Biden, who brilliantly managed the alliance of countries who have rushed to the support of Ukraine, always publicly did that kind of leadership with humility, because that's the only way. The man who says, I run the world, is being rebuked literally by the world right now and every single day since he has imposed tariffs on the world. Not one country has accepted those tariffs. Not one country isn't fighting back against those tariffs. And China, the principal target of the Trump tariffs, through a government spokesperson said, we will fight till the end. That's how much Donald Trump does not run the world. Donald Trump started a trade war that he is losing every day. Donald Trump could not have chosen a stupider or more delusional moment to say, I run the country and the world. As of tonight, new polling indicates the country doesn't want Donald Trump running anything now. Donald Trump has achieved a new record, and all of Donald Trump's records are the most extreme form of negative achievement. A new Washington Post poll awards a record to Donald Trump. reporting that Donald Trump's job approval rating is, quote, lower than for any past president at the 100-day mark in their first or second terms. Donald Trump is now America's biggest loser in the history of first 100-day presidential polling. 55% say they disapprove of how Donald Trump is handling his job, and only 39% approve. Donald Trump won 49% of the vote in the last election, but he couldn't come close to that now. The only comfort for Donald Trump in this week's new round of polling is that the richest person in the world polls just slightly worse than Donald Trump. 57% disapprove of what Elon Musk is doing, with just 35% approving. Americans think that the Trump-invented so-called Department of Government Efficiency, allegedly run by Elon Musk, isn't finding waste or fraud in government. 56% say that waste has either stayed the same or has increased, compared to 43% who think it has decreased. And 68% say that fraud has either stayed the same or has increased. Donald Trump, speaking of fraud, is the first president of the United States to try to hustle private business ventures from the White House and do it publicly, auctioning off for money that he can put in his pocket, not for campaign contributions, dinners at the White House, creating